Donald Trump's milestone.
The first 100 days of my nation has been just about the most successful in our country's history.
What he's accomplished.
I, Neil M. Gorsuch.
And the battles that lie ahead.
We'll build the wall. Don't even think about it.
Plus a road trip to a key battleground state. Voters handing out their progress reports.
Failed launch. North Korea's missile test. A short to medium range weapon breaking up just minutes after takeoff. Tensions between Washington and Pyongyang ratcheted even higher. Our Bob Woodruff in neighboring South Korea with the mood on the ground.
Massive manhunt and attempted cop killer with a 100-year prison term now on the run.
He's going to be a white male in an all-white jumpsuit.
The all-out search to find him on the ground and in the air.
And severe storms, flash flooding hitting parts of the nation's heartland.
Oh, my God.
Cars floating down the street. Torrential hail pounding cars and roads. What's still to come for the 40 million Americans in the danger zone.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Was it a three-piece? Hey, good morning. Sorry, I was talking to Rob about whether he was going to wear a three-piece suit this morning. But anyway, let's get to our top story. You are looking at a live shot of the White House where Donald Trump is waking up on this day 100 of his presidency.
Yeah, if you do the math, it's only 6.8% into his presidency. And he is dealing with an unpleasant commemorative gift from the North Koreans in the form of a missile launch overnight. That launch failed, but was a provocative act nonetheless.
Back on the home front, Trump is going to spend much of this day in Pennsylvania, where he will hold a rally capping his first 100 days, skipping in the process the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner back in D.C.
And the president has simultaneously called the 100-day mark a ridiculous standard while boasting about all that he has accomplished.
So let's take a look at the scorecard here. The president has scored wins on installing a new Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch, and pulling out of the controversial Trans-Pacific Partnership.
The TPP, however, his attempt to repeal and replace Obamacare, that went down in flames, as did his travel ban. And one of his marquee promises, building the wall, that remains in progress this morning.
So much to talk about. We've got team coverage this morning with reporters everywhere from Korea to the U.S. Capitol, and we kick things off with ABC's David Wright, who's at the White House. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Paula. You know, 100 days is kind of an artificial milestone. It's the unofficial honeymoon period, the end of the honeymoon period for any new president. Donald Trump entered office with a splash, and the seas are still choppy.
My fellow Americans.
This morning, in his weekly address, the president gives himself top marks.
I truly believe that the first 100 days of my administration has been just about the most successful in our country's history.
Plenty of others might dispute that, but not the National Rifle Association. On Friday, they gave him a warm welcome.
As your president, I will never, ever infringe on the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Never, ever.
Trump has certainly changed the tone here in Washington, but he has yet to pass a single major piece of legislation. His budget and his plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
Obamacare is a disaster.
Stalled, at least for now, back in the hands of a Republican Congress.
I'm disappointed that it doesn't go quicker.
Trump's biggest victory,
I, Neil M. Gorsuch.
a new conservative justice to fill the 9th seat on the U.S. Supreme Court.
And I got it done in the first 100 days.
He's signed 29 bills into law, but his journey has been turbulent too. His temporary travel ban on several predominantly Muslim countries blocked by the courts, his promise to build that Mexican border wall in limbo.
We'll build the wall. Don't even think about it.
Trump was critical of President Obama's use of executive orders, calling them major power grabs of authority. But he signed more than Obama did in his first 100 days, 30 executive orders so far.
I loved my previous life. I had so many things going.
Speaking to Reuters, the president had this to say about his first 100 days.
This is more work than in my previous life. I thought it would be easier.
Tonight, as the White House press corps holds its annual black tie correspondents' dinner, the president is headed to Harrisburg to tour a lawnmower factory and hold a campaign rally, clearly hoping for that split-screen moment, the press that he loves to bash, living it up in fancy dress. while he's out there amongst the people. Dan, Paula?
It will be an interesting primetime split screen tonight. David, thank you. As David mentioned, the president has signed more than 24 bills into law in his first 100 days, but that includes no major legislation, even though his party controls both houses of Congress. So let's bring in ABC's Mary Bruce, who's also in Washington and covers the Capitol for us. Mary, what gives?
Well, Dan, over these past 100 days, the negotiator-in-chief has been struggling to seal the deal with Congress. Even though Republicans, as you mentioned, are in control of Capitol Hill, the president has yet to win a single major legislative victory. Now, that doesn't mean there hasn't been plenty of activity. Republicans have been busy, but their goals keep running into a harsh political reality, the divisions within their own party. Now, on health care, for instance, they've been working for weeks to gain enough support to fulfill their pledge to repeal and replace Obamacare, but they keep coming up short. The divisions so deep they're threatening the president's legislative priorities.
Is hard. So what comes next here? How does the president navigate this relationship with Congress and get his own party to come together and move forward?
Yeah, well, despite the slow start, Republicans insist the best is yet to come. On health care, there have been signs of progress recently, and if they can manage to get that done, their hope is it will create a path for tax reform, some of those other big-ticket items. Now, the president says he's disappointed that things aren't moving more quickly, and he notes this system is tough. Even House Speaker Paul Ryan admits after 8 years as the opposition party under the Obama administration, Republicans are now having some growing pains as they adjust to governing. Dan.
Mary Bruce in Washington, thank you very much. Paula, over to you.
Thank you, Dan. You know, President Trump is revolutionizing the way the commander-in-chief communicates with the American public, using Twitter to bypass the traditional media. So we've crunched the data, and we want to share some interesting insight into his Twitter habits. His most popular tweet so far might surprise you. In response to the massive protest the day after his inauguration, Trump wrote, quote, "Peaceful protests are a hallmark of our democracy. Even if I don't always agree, I recognize the rights of people to express their views." Now, it was during his third week in office that this tweet was tweeted the most, mentioning his nomination of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson being sworn in, and attacking the judge that temporarily blocked his immigration ban. But his most popular tweet that week was, "Make America great again." So what does President Trump tweet about the most? These words: Democrats, fake news, media, Russia, and Obamacare. We've got a great interactive feature on our website that lets you filter tweets by topic, time of day, and even the ones that he has written in all caps. Again, these originating from the real Donald Trump account. Over 470 tweets, Dan, since the inauguration.
I thought we would have seen the words sad and bad more prominently in that list.
You would have been wrong.
Not the first time. Not the first time. Paula, thank you. Overnight, the president was tweeting about the story that has transfixed much of this planet, the crisis with North Korea. As we mentioned, the North Koreans have attempted another missile launch, and ABC's Bob Woodruff is in Seoul, South Korea, covering it all. Bob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dad. Yes, this missile was launched just overnight, and clearly this was once again Kim Jong-un flexing his muscles. Despite the growing pressure from both the U.S. and China, today another show of force. This time, a short to medium-range missile believed to be a new type, a KN-17, that broke up just minutes after launch. According to U.S. military officials, it exploded on North Korean soil. President Trump tweeted that the failed launch disrespected the wishes of China and its highly respected president. But Trump has also expressed doubt about China's influence over Kim Jong-un, who has never met China's president, and there is no indication that that will change.
I have a lot of respect, and I really like President Xi. I don't know that he's going to be able to pull it off. It may have to be a much more difficult ending, to be honest with you.
On Thursday, Trump said anything could happen.
There's a chance that we could end up having a major conflict with North Korea. Absolutely.
As for South Korea about the launch, very little reaction this morning. You know, ask these people what they think about the missiles in North Korea. They say a few words, but what they care about the most is who's going to be the next president, the election on May 9th. The sound in Seoul is just politics. Campaigns to win the presidential election 10 days from now. Now, South Koreans also told us that it's not really fear, it's anger. They're angry about what President Trump said yesterday, telling South Korea to pay the bill for the anti-missile defense system that the U.S. has brought into this country, $1 billion for the launchers that could stop a North Korean missile. Now, in the newspapers today, Here are some of the words in the headlines describing the reaction as bewildered, puzzled, shocked, betrayed, and also describing President Trump as incomprehensible, quote unquote. But no response yet from President Trump this morning. Dan, Paula?
All right, Bob Woodruff reporting from Seoul this morning. Thank you. And joining us now from Washington is retired Colonel and ABC News contributor Steve Kanyard, who served in the Pentagon and as a fighter pilot. Steve, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Paula.
So this launch is significant because the U.S. has an aircraft carrier in waters nearby, but this is their third launch this month alone. What can you tell us about this particular missile? I believe they're dubbing it a carrier killer.
Yeah, Paul, this is interesting because this is a missile that we saw for the first time in that parade a couple weeks ago in Pyongyang. One of the things that they noticed is that there were guidance fins on the back of this. As this parade went by, they could look very closely and see that it had guidance fins. It's also a shorter range missile, so analysts think that this is intended to attack U.S. aircraft carriers. So Kim Jong-un has been very careful here not to launch a long-range missile or to do a nuclear test in a way that would be provocative to the point that the Trump administration would put new economic sanctions in place. So they will continue to test, they'll continue to develop these missiles, but this missile in and of itself was not especially provocative.
Steve, interesting noises coming out of the Trump administration. On the one hand, you got the president warning of potentially a major conflict. On the other hand, you got the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, saying just yesterday that the U.S. may be willing to engage in direct talks with North Korea. Do you actually see that kind of direct talk happening?
That's one of the things the U.S. has resisted for years. Both Democratic and Republican presidents have resisted that. They want to make this, it's a regional problem, and so we've wanted to keep it as a regional discussion. But I think what you saw yesterday from Secretary Tillerson is a little bit of softening. He was quite clear to say we don't want regime change, we just want something that would look like a freeze. So they'll continue to ramp up the diplomatic pressure. We see that the Vinson Carrier Group is moving into the area, so the military pressure continues to get ramped up. But the real cards here that the administration and all of the UN has to play are the economic cards, and we should see those rolled out in the days to come.
China, a key part of that. Steve Kanyard, thank you very much for your analysis on this Saturday morning. We want to talk more now about the president's first 100 days in office. We've got a pair of ringers with us this morning, ABC News political commentator Cokie Roberts and the Republican strategist and new ABC News contributor Alex Castellanos, both in Washington. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Cokie, let's start with you. How would you grade President Trump's first 100 days?
I'd give him a gentleman's C. I think that, which is probably what he got in school. The fact is that he hasn't delivered on those promises, and the promises were bold. You know, the wall and repealing Obamacare, but he has succeeded in getting a Supreme Court justice confirmed, and he has rolled back some of what he would consider government overreach in the Obama administration through his executive orders. But it has been such a sort of chaotic 100 days. Now, a lot of voters seem to like that, but it is a little distressing when you look around and see that hundreds of federal officials have not been named, not confirmed, not named. So it's kind of home alone at the agencies, and it's hard to get something done under those circumstances.
Alex, Cokie paints a bit of a rocky picture there. How would you grade these first 100 days?
Well, I think it's understandable if you're a Washington insider and you think leading is only legislating, you're going to give Donald Trump a harsh grade. But if you're an outsider to Washington and a Trump supporter, and you look at the impact he's had on the economy, on America's place in the world, on Washington itself, you're going to give him an A. You know, if you're Russia, you got bombed in Syria, you have renewed respect for America. If you're China, you have a better relationship. If you're North Korea, your missiles are blowing up. If you're a defense contractor, you're worried about what you charge the government now because the President of the United States will renegotiate that in public. If you're a business thinking about taking your jobs to Mexico, you're thinking twice. If you're concerned about the Supreme Court legislating instead of just calling balls and strikes, you're happy with a new Supreme Court justice. So he's had quite an impact, not legislatively.
So a gentleman's C from Cokie and an A from Alex. Cokie, let's go back to you. What do you think has been President Trump's best moment so far?
Well, I agree with Alex that moment of the president bombing Syria, now whether that was a one-off or whether it means something long-term, we don't know. But it showed a sense of action. And I think that one of the real hits against Obama was that he was very cautious in that situation. And clearly people rallied around President Trump in that moment. But again, we don't know what that means for the long term.
And Alex, what do you think has been the president's not so stellar moment thus far?
Well, I think when the president realized that he didn't have enough children to run the family businesses and the entire federal government, that was a big eye-opener. No, I think there have been moments when the president has felt slighted and perhaps his ego bruised, and it became more about Donald Trump than about leading the American people. You know, in the inaugural, when there's a debate about crowd size and not about economic size, those moments, I think, Donald Trump suffers.
Alex Castellano and Cokie Roberts, we thank you very much for your analysis on day 100 of the Trump presidency. My quick math shows we've got 1,360 days to go in this first term.
Or 93.2% left.
Exactly.
We're really
Both
good at
of us
math
have
this
been working
morning.
the calculators on our
My
phones this morning.
mind hurts just thinking about that. All right, thanks, guys. We want to turn now to the dangerous weather that is hitting the central part of the country. The National Weather Service saying the flash flooding could threaten lives, and Rob's been tracking it all for us this morning. Hi, Rob.
Hey, good morning, guys. Impressive math with you, and impressive storms exploding here with some numbers that are going to be piling up. Look at these storms exploding overnight from Oklahoma City all the way back through Louisville, and we've had a number of flash flood warnings that are ongoing. Take a look at what happened in southern Indiana last night, and some of the rain creating flooding to where the car alarm went off. And it's actually spinning down the roadway. So training thunderstorms, we'll see more of this and this as well. Hail last night in Calumet, Oklahoma. Oklahoma City, winds over 70 miles an hour, widespread damage there, nearly 20,000 people without power with a storm that just went through there. So that's going to be an issue today, and with this ongoing flooding, could see life-threatening flooding across parts of Arkansas and southern Missouri. And then in 2 rounds of severe weather coming through, Dallas, Shreveport, Little Rock, you're all in it later on today. Strong winds, obviously, maybe a tornado, and this all presses off to the east during the day tomorrow. That's a quick check on the national headlines. Here now is your local forecast.
Definitely a summertime feel for today. Forecasting a daytime high of 91 degrees. We could certainly break a few records across the D.C. area, and we're already feeling rather mild waking up this morning. Upper 60s to low 70s, and it is quite humid, maybe even a little bit comfortable as you step out the door. Nationals game later today, first pitch at 1:05. It's going to be a hot one, so stay well hydrated. Maybe an isolated thunderstorm as we go through the later half of the evening hours. That exists for Sunday as well.
If all that weather wasn't enough, there's a lot of snow on the backside of this system, including Denver and other places. We'll talk more about that next half hour.
Yeah, I got chased out of Denver by that snow yesterday, as a matter of fact.
In the nick of time.
Thank you, Robert. Let's get it over to Ronald for a look at the day's other headlines. What's happening?
Dan, good morning to you. Paula, good morning to you. Adrian and Robert, good morning, everyone. Good morning, America. It begins, we're going to begin overseas in Egypt now with Pope Francis celebrating an open-air mass in Cairo just 3 weeks after 2 Christian churches in Egypt were bombed during Palm Sunday services. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Terry Moran is in Cairo, Egypt this morning. Terry?
Good morning, Ron. It's been a remarkable day for Pope Francis, and the images here so striking. This man of peace preaching tolerance, but surrounded every step of the way by bristling security in a land torn by conflict. Francis motorcading through the lockdown streets of Cairo to the Air Defense Stadium this morning. That's run by the military, considered the safest place for him to hold an open-air mass. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Only about half the seats were filled. But there was a festive atmosphere when the Pope entered in his golf cart, surrounded by a phalanx of personal security, a rare moment for Christians to share their faith in this Muslim country. And in his homily, the Pope spoke to them and to all those throughout this region who might use faith as an inspiration for violence. He said, the only fanaticism believers can have is the fanaticism of charity. Do not be afraid to love everyone, your friends and enemies alike. He returns to Rome this evening. Ron?
Terry Moran in Cairo, thank you for that. And now to Maryland and an all-out manhunt for a prisoner who escaped while being transported to a mental hospital Friday morning. Authorities say the inmate, 28-year-old David Watson, somehow got out of his handcuffs, overpowered a guard, and ran off into a wooded area. He was serving a 106-year sentence for the attempted murders of several police officers. And the Pentagon is investigating whether 2 elite Army Rangers who died in Afghanistan this week may have been killed by friendly fire, either from the U.S. or Afghan forces. Sergeant Joshua Rogers and Sergeant